One of the greatest Eucharistic miracles approved by the Church really took place in our own time. This was a miracle that took place on August 15th, 1996 in a small parish church of Buenos Aires, Argentina. Mass was being celebrated that day when someone noticed a consecrated host on the ground. Attention was brought to the parish priest, Father Alejandro Pezet. Father Alejandro did what the Church asked priests to do in circumstances like this. He took the host reverently and placed it in a cup of water so that it would dissolve naturally. And that cup of water was placed in the tabernacle. On August 26th, a few days later, the priests of the parish went to the tabernacle to see if the host was dissolving. But what they discovered was that the host wasn't dissolving at all, and that these red, blood-colored stains were getting larger and larger in the host. Eventually, they brought that to the attention of the Cardinal Archbishop, who was none other than Jorge Bergoglio, later who became Pope Francis. And the Archbishop decided to wait a little bit until some scientific examinations could be done. Eventually, those tests began to be carried out in 1999. Now, the most remarkable of those tests were carried out on March 26, 2005, by a Professor Zugibe from Columbia University in New York. The professor was intentionally kept unaware of where this sample actually came from. Professor Zugibe confirmed that the sample was actually human heart tissue, very similar to the same tissue that was found in the Eucharistic miracle of Lanciano. And this human heart tissue was myocardium tissue from the left ventricle of the human heart. And what's really remarkable about this is the left ventricle is the part of the heart that gives life to the rest of the heart. Not only that, but Professor Zugibe confirmed, because of the presence of thrombi in this sample, that this came from the heart of someone who suffered greatly and struggled to breathe every breath, someone who eventually suffered a great blow to the side. This matches up perfectly with what the Gospels tell us about Jesus' own death on the cross, and eventually how the Roman soldier's spear or lance pierced his side. Even more remarkable than that, something Professor Zugibe could not explain, was how, because of the presence of white blood cells, this sample, he said, was taken from the heart of someone whose heart was still beating at the time the sample was taken. Professor Zugibe couldn't explain that. When he was told this sample actually came from a consecrated host, he was completely floored, completely amazed, and speechless. What does the Eucharistic miracle of Buenos Aires have to say to each and every one of us? You know, that miracle really points to the greatest miracle, which is the Eucharist, and how Jesus' heart is always truly present to us in the Eucharist. How Jesus' heart is beating for us. His heart is alive and beating for us in the Eucharist. And he's waiting for us there. And God bless you.